Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2015 Chevy City Express, we're going to be showing you how to install the CURT Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. But before we do that, I'm going to check it out and make sure that this is something that's going to work for you. So when it comes to the City Express, I'm not going to lie, I haven't really seen a ton of them out on the road. Maybe I just haven't noticed them, or there's just not too many of them running around in my area. But, you know, it doesn't take, much thought. As soon as you see this, a hitch on the back of it just makes sense. Clearly, a work type vehicle, people running, making deliveries, potentially, some construction related deals there. And so a hitch on here, it's right at home, more or less. So, if you plan on pulling a small trailer, or maybe even, using some type of cargo carrier, this is going to get the job done and allow you to do that. With this being a Class 3 hitch, it's going to have that 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening. Super common size, and a lot of different things will work with it. It is going to have the standard 5/8 pinhole. So that's what size pin and clip you're going to need to use. Now, pin and clip does not come included. If you need one though, not a huge deal. Grab it right here at Etrailer. The safety chain openings are a plate style. And I'm not going to lie, they're a little small. It'd have been cool if they were a little bit larger, but, not the end of the world. They're still going to give us enough room to use just about any size hook that we might have. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have a 525-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, and that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch. So, pretty high number. You should be able to use just about any size cargo carrier, or maybe even a bike rack, for example. And as far as the hitch's maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 3,500 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So it is the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now, I do always like to suggest it's never a bad idea just to grab your vehicle's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your vehicle can pull out much weight safely. And with all that in mind, if you plan on pulling a trailer, you want the lights to work. You want people to know what's going on, and you want to stay safe and legal. And to accomplish that, you can always check out some trailer wiring. Now let's just go ahead and grab a couple of measurements. That way we can figure out which hitch-mounted accessories will work out best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be right at about 11.5 inches. So, if you plan on pulling a trailer, chances are pretty good you're going to need to get a ball mount that actually has a decent rise in the shank. If you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 1.5 inches, and you can use that measurement to figure out exactly if any of those folding type accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without hitting the back of your City Express. So at the end of the day, a hitch you really can't go wrong with. It's going to get the job done and allow you to do some different things. Now, on a vehicle like this, for me, it's really about function, but honestly, I think the hitch looks pretty good too, and that's never a bad thing. Now, as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. I kind of ran into a couple issues that we had to figure out, but nothing too major or, too difficult. And as long as you follow along, I'll kind of walk you through what I did, and hopefully it'll help you out. But with all that said, why don't we go ahead, pull it into the garage, and put the hitch on together now. To begin your installation, first thing you want to do is just temporarily remove your spare tire, give you some extra room to work. So went ahead and done that. And now what we need to do is lower our exhaust some to give us some extra space. So we're going to have one hanger to remove, which is right here. It's this rubber one. You can spray it down with some soapy water, some penetrating oil to help lubricate it. Then we're just going to take a pry bar and work the exhaust off and let it come down. Over here, just on the driver's side, we're going to have this fascia tab, and it's going to be blocking one of our holes that we need to use. So we need to lower this down so we can see where we need to cut it. So there's going to be 2 plastic fasteners. You can take a trim tool like this here, or a flathead screwdriver, pry that fastener out. We can lower this down and figure out where we need to cut. So I kind of eyeballed where we need to cut, and I'm going to take all this area off. I'm going to leave this small little tab portion here. So This being plastic, you could use a pair of snips. I'm just going to use a Dremel tool to get this material removed. Now we can get our hardware fish wired into our frame rail. So I want to mention anything from this point on that we do to this side of the vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. But each frame rail on the side here, we're going to have 2 attachment points, this hole and this one. And you got a couple options on what you can do here to get your hardware in place. You can either enlarge this hole big enough to allow your bolts and spacer blocks to pass through there, or you can simply use this opening back here. The thing is, up top here, it's really hard to see, but you can feel in there, there's a hole cut out. It's not just one big opening. So it's a little trickier to get everything through, but you know, you're not gonna have to cut or grind or drill to enlarge the hole. So that's what I'm gonna do. That said though, you're gonna take the coiled end of a fish wire, starting with this hole, fish that back, and what we're trying to do is get it to come out of that opening. So it's really gonna have to take a little finesse that you may have to do is get a magnet or something and try to come up through here to get that coiled end up where you need it to go. Or we can try to bend the wire up a little bit, give it a little different shot here. Like I said, if you're doing it this way, be patient. You know, you will have to kind of finesse that wire out of there. So here's where our fish wire came out, and what I ended up doing was just taking a magnet on a stick here, and I was able to kind of work that up in there, grab our fish wire end and pull it out. So that seemed to work out pretty well. But what you're going to do from here is take a spacer block, put that over fish wire, and a carriage bolt. You're going to thread that on, just coiled in there. Then we can feed that hardware up inside the frame rail. And again, this part can get a little tricky because that opening isn't big enough for that spacer block to pass through sideways. So you're going to have to kind of finesse it in there a long ways. Once you get it in, go ahead and pull on the other end of our fish wire so we get it to drop down. Once that's done, I'm going to do that same exact process for this attachment point. So there's going to be one more attachment point on each side of our vehicle. Along the back here, we're going to have this opening. Same deal, take the coiled end of your fish wire, drop through that big hole, and then just thread on that same hardware combo that we used for the other two. This one's a little bit easier, so shouldn't really give you as much trouble. Over here on the passenger side, I feel like this wiring and stuff here is probably going to get in the way of the hitch. So I'm just going to move it out of the way. There's a plastic deal there. You can just pop that out. That should let it clear. And then this bracket deals right there where our hitch needs to go. So we'll move that out of the way. Looks like there's just one 10mm fastener there. Move that so I don't hook myself. We'll take a socket here and get this out of the way. That way, if it does interfere with the hitch, it's already moved and we're not struggling trying to hold it up and work around it and everything else. But if the hitch ends up covering this spot back up, we'll just find something to make it work. So after looking at this here, I think what our best bet is going to be is to just get rid of this bracket completely, and then we'll be able to kind of zip tie our wiring up to the hitch. So it looks like there's a plastic keeper here. All right, pry that off. That way this will be out of the way. And yeah, we have more than enough here. We can, you know, get it secured to the hitch here in a moment. But looking too, this thing, this stud here, that's also going to hit the hitch and interfere with it. So we'll have to get rid of that. You could probably hit it with a hammer. I'd probably end up breaking it and do it that way. Since I have my Dremel tool here, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off. Now we can take our hitch and get it into position. So you're going to have to kind of work this in one side at a time here. And while you're doing that, you want to start to get your pull wires through the corresponding holes in the hitch. Let's see if we can't manage this here. So get that one over there going. We can get this side going as well. So putting the hitch up, trying to get it in place, ran into another small issue. The little plastic tab here on the passenger side, it was in the way. So if you're trying to hold this up, you know, the hitch was hitting it. So all I simply did was remove from this whole side here, I removed probably, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch, something like that, right up against the attachment point. And with that cut out of the way, that's going to give us the clearance that we need. But with that said, being able to push it up there, in our case now, on the same side, we're having some interference issues up at the top. So at the top of the frame rail here, which I think this is what's holding us up, you have some sealer. It's almost like some caulk. And I think that is coming out enough to where it's stopping the hitch from being able to sit up there flush. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver, flathead, and kind of get some of that removed. And hopefully that'll give us the space we need to get our hitch up into place. So with that caulk scraped off, it looks like it did the trick. The hitch is getting pushed up into place where it needs to be. It's still a little tight, but that's okay. Once we kind of get our hardware going, it'll kind of help suck it up into position. But what you're going to do is remove the fish wire, take a flange nut, and just get one started on each side. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on the rest of the bolts. And once you get all the hardware in place and hand tight, come back to the 19mm socket and snug everything down. Now don't forget to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at Etrailer, or a lot of times you can go to your local auto parts stores and they'll have one there available to rent. So over here, what I did with that wire, it actually worked out really well. I just took a zip tie and zip tied it nice and tight to our hitch. That way it's supported and out of the way. And we can move back over to our exhaust, re-lubricate it, and get it rehung. And from there, you can simply reinstall your spare tire here. And I just wanted to show you guys, it fits up with no issues. You know, everything clears, no different than if a hitch wasn't here at all. But with all that said, that will finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2015 Chevy City Express.